Great. So let me use an orchestra as an example for it. Imagine that you're, an orchestra leader. You're the conductor, and you have somebody who's playing the piano, somebody who's playing the saxophone, somebody who's playing, the strings or quartet, and you have different players playing different instruments.
Absolutely.
If the musicians are in harmony and in coherence, right?
Right.
Then it sounds freaking amazing. So your favorite orchestra or band sounds amazing because it's just working. All the notes and players are in synchronicity.
Beautiful.
So that should be a great visual for somebody. So now let's look at our brain and say, okay, there is a part of your brain that is responsible for setting goals. There's another part of your brain that's responsible for focus. There's another part of your brain that's responsible to take action. There's another part of your brain that's supposed to keep you safe. There's another part of your brain that regulates your energy flow. Now, the reason I want to use that analogy is there are different parts of the brain that if they don't work in coherence, together in harmony, then we lose motivation. We procrastinate. We don't take action. We come up with stories and excuses and reasons why we can't or why we won't.
Welcome to the Habits to Goals podcast with Martin Grunburg. It's time to take control of your life. Are you ready to achieve goals faster and more consistently than ever before? You need the Habit Factor. You're listening to Habits to Goals, the podcast that helps you create the habits that lead to success. And here is Martin Grunburg.
All righty, here we go. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. My name is Martin Grunburg. You have reached Habits to Goals. Yes, the only podcast consistently reminding you to focus, for lack of a better term, on your habit list, the habits that are going to carry you to your goals and burn your to-do list. Today, we have a phenomenal guest. In fact, it is not hyperbole. It is not a stretch. It is not an exaggeration. We are reaching into the upper echelon, the stratosphere of personal development. We have managed to wrangle in Mr. John Assaraf. He's a multi-time best-selling author. He's the CEO of NeuroGym. He has, the timing couldn't be better. He's got a fantastic book called Inner Size, which we are going to be talking about. And you may have even seen him, this is incredible, on the Larry King Show, I think multiple times. Mr. John Assaraf, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Martin. How are you?
It's fantastic to hear your voice, and I'm doing terrific. So customarily, we kick off the show with a GTR, a Good Things Report. But before we go there, John, I'm dying to know, I just mentioned it in the open, being on the Larry King Show, take me through that fairly quickly. That was like at the height of his show. I think it was perhaps at the height of The Secret, which you were a major contributor to. So I just kind of want the inside scoop because I haven't gotten it from you. If you could share, what was that experience like?
It was great. It was because of The Secret the first time that I went on.
Oh, really?
And he was really curious in finding out, was this law of attraction thing real? Could anybody use it? Was there any science behind it? And I was invited onto the show just because I'm fascinated with the neuroscience and neuropsychology. That's my expertise. And I ended up being on the show another 7 times after that because we got really great conversations on different topics, but specifically on mindset and emotional management and achieving goals. And so he's just an amazingly curious human being that treats every guest the same. And there's no pretentiousness about him. He really thinks in terms of asking questions that the audience wants to hear the answer to. And he's not afraid to dig in and go deeper, which I loved.
And that's what That's the sense I get just kind of from the outside looking in. And I think that's what's made him the consummate professional and a storied career. And certainly it appeared you guys have developed a tremendous friendship over the years. One of my favorite Larry King quotes, I don't know why I want to do this, but I kind of want you to try and guess what it could be.
Well, you know what? I don't know. I'm at a loss for Larry King quotes.
Yeah, well, it's a great one. I never learned anything while I was talking.
Yeah.
And I've actually worked that into my app. So again, thank you for coming on. It's long overdue. I really appreciate you. I know we've had to jump around a few times, or at least once to make this happen. And I'm just super excited to dig into your work, the new book. But again, customarily, we kick it off with the GTR, a Good Things Report. So you can go first or I can go first. Your call, sir.
Yeah, you go first. Let me see how the pros do it.
Well, it's a funky, it's got to be the funkiest GTR I've ever come up with. And it's really strange how things just enter your life, Mr. Secret. So I think you understand where I'm coming from. But I live down on the beach, near the beach, and this kid set up this thing. It's called a slack line. So on this thing, you balance. And interestingly enough, one of my companies is called Equilibrium Enterprises. And I've been fascinated with the concept of balance because it's a universal principle. But just kind of put that to the side. So this kid sets up this slack line, and I am just gravitated towards it, and I suck and I can't stop trying, and it's totally addicting. And to make a very long story short, my GTR is I have learned to do what's considered a maybe advanced trick, which is bounce off my butt up to my feet and then release my feet, go back down to my butt and back to my feet. So I know that's a long GTR, but I might as well hit you with that. That's what I got.
Okay. So define GTR for me one more time.
Good Things Report. It's something.
Good Things Report.
Something that happened to you. It could be personal. It can be professional. It could be about your family. It could be something. It could be the hike you took at Torrey Pines today.
You know, a really Good Things Report. I derive an enormous amount of pleasure helping people achieve even more in their lives. And a lot of people who've had some, great successes come into my orbit and some really challenging times. And there's a woman recently that I met. Her name is Heidi Hendler. And for the last 15 years, she's been suffering from Crohn's disease. She's been, 60 to 70 pounds overweight. And she's, just like 50 years old. So she's not really old. And she started with one of our programs called Winning the Game of Weight Loss, which is really nothing around weight loss. It has everything to do with the inner game of what's happening between your ears, your mindset, your attitude, your beliefs, your perspectives, and your ability to control your emotions. And she sent me, actually it was a long email, just thanking me and NeuroGym because after many years of yo-yo dieting and being on medications like crazy for her Crohn's disease, she's released and kept off 60 pounds and she's off of all of her medication. And her doctor thinks, a miracle has happened. And so, great things like that are things that I love and enjoy when I can help make a difference in somebody's life that really affects their health and well-being and energy and vitality and self-esteem and self-image, but also to be able to shatter misconceptions about what is possible. And her doctor told her she'll never be able to get off of the drugs she was on. And I said, oh, yes, you can. The drugs, are like a Band-Aid. We've got to deal with the cause. And so there's a GTR for you. Yeah,
that's a heck of a GTR. I'm guessing Heidi's life is and will never be the same, and that's got to be incredibly rewarding. So that's a fantastic GTR, and it's a beautiful segue into the book Inner Size. But we're going to table that just for a second, kind of set the table. I know a lot of a lot of our listeners are familiar with you, but some may not be. Just take, 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, just kind of talking through where you grew up. And I know you've had the most eclectic and super interesting childhood, adolescence, and talk us through some of that as we, work towards our way towards NeuroGym and some of your books.
Sure. So, grew up in a fairly normally dysfunctional family. So, it's like everybody has. And so there's nothing unusual about that. Parents, fought a lot about the lack of money. They got married when they were really young. And so they didn't really marry out of love as much as they married out of lust, back 60 plus years ago.
And you were born where?
I was born in Tel Aviv, Israel.
That's what I thought. Excellent.
1961, so I'm 57 today. And moved from Israel to Montreal, didn't speak the language in grade 1, stumbled for the first 2 years in school trying to learn French and English at the same time, fell behind, got into a lot of trouble in school all the way through high school. I ended up, spending most of my time with the misfits, got involved in street gangs, doing illegal things between the age of 12 to 17, and just was messing my life up. And I was really fortunate when I was 19. I'd left school grade 11 when just got a job in a shipping department of a company making, 65 cents an hour, whatever, $2 an hour. And, being miserable, hating every day of my life. And I was introduced to a man, his name is Alan Brown, in April of 1980. And I went to lunch with him and he asked me a few questions. And the answer to one of those questions transformed my life, and I owe him a lot. And I'll tell you the question in just a second. But
sure.
He asked me if I had any goals, first and foremost. This is before the question that changed my life. And I said, well, yeah, I want to be able to, have a job, want to get a car. Didn't have a car at the time. I want to be able to get and just enjoy life a little bit.
Sure.
And he gave me these documents to set my goals for health, wealth, relationships, career, business, fun, experiences, charity. And they're probably about 12 pages. And he asked me to go home and fill out the documents and then come back with the best answers and goals of what I wanted to achieve. And so I went home totally not having any idea of what I wanted. But at that time, I used to watch a great TV show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach.
Right.
And so I wrote down, I want to have a, beautiful home. I want to have nice cars. I want to travel, first class. I want to retire my parents. I want to give $1 million a year to charity. I want to be healthy. I want to have a great body. I just wrote all this stuff down.
Absolutely.
It was almost comical. And when I came back to see him, he looked at me and goes, okay, so you're being reasonable. I go, what? That's reasonable? He goes, yeah, if you know how to do it, it's reasonable. He says, there's nothing on here that's not doable. And then he asked me the question, the mother of all questions that transformed my life. And he said to me, he says, John, are you interested in achieving these goals or are you committed? And I said,
love that one.
Mr. Brown, what's the difference? And he says, young man, he says, if you're interested, you'll do what's convenient. He says, if you're interested, you do what's easy. If you're interested, you'll stay in your comfort zone. If you're interested, you'll keep the stories and reasons and excuses of why you can't and why you won't. He says, if, however, on the other hand, you're committed, you will do whatever it takes. You will upgrade your knowledge. You will upgrade your skills. You will change your beliefs about yourself and about what's possible. You will develop empowering habits, and you will become the type of man that can achieve these goals. And so I just sat there in freaking silence. I was like, holy shit. I mean, it makes sense.
Right.
And I said, and if I am committed, then what? He goes, well, if you're committed, I'll help you. And if you're interested, it's been nice knowing you. So I put out my hand. I said, Mr. Brown, I am committed. Now, this man was a very well-known philanthropist in Toronto, Canada, with major real estate offices and real estate, and a wonderful husband and father, and just a beautiful human being. And when I shook his hand, he patted me on the head. almost like a father would a son. And I was 19 years old. And he says, then I'll help you. And I went home that Sunday. This was on a Friday. I went home that Sunday. My brother lived in Toronto. I went home that Sunday. I packed up my bags. I told my parents I'm moving to Toronto, which was 350 miles away. I was living in Montreal at the time. And on May 5th, 1980, he enrolled me into a real estate school. And for 5 weeks, I went to real estate school. And then on June 20th, 1980, I became a licensed real estate agent at the fine young age of 19.
That's so awesome.
The reason I remember these dates, Martin, so well is it was the first test I had passed on my own without cheating.
Wow. That's super heavy. And personally, I can relate to that so much at that younger age. It's you just, and I don't mean you, I mean us, we think that we can outsmart people by taking a shortcut, by cutting this corner, stealing this, doing this. And it's just so backwards. And so I love that story. He became very much a big brother, a mentor for you. And explain, how was that a total chance meeting, or how did he come into your life again?
Great question. My brother was a tennis pro and teaching tennis at a club. And Alan was one of his clients. And my brother asked him if he would be kind enough to meet with me because I was getting in trouble with the law, and I was getting into so much trouble because of my self-worth and self-esteem issues and all of that kind of stuff. And he agreed to see me. And so I took the train from Montreal to Toronto, and he met me and was so gracious, so kind. I owe him a lot.
Yeah, that is an amazing story. So because we are constricted somewhat to time, I just want to zero in on this one key question that you're, and I think rightfully so, are putting so much emphasis on this distinction between interested and committed. And on one level, it's so simple to see. And on another, it's the classic, if it were so simple, why wouldn't more people do it? So if there's a way that, and there may not be, if somebody's just sitting here listening and they're like, I can see the distinction, but how do I know what are the steps I'm taking to leave interested and be committed? If that question makes sense, like what's holding them back and how do they make that leap? Because I think that is such a fundamental distinction there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, the reason I wrote the book Inner Science, and it's all around the new science to unlock your brain's hidden power, is because I want everybody to think about this for just a minute. Do we have the knowledge and the skills and the methods to teach people how to lose weight and keep it off? The answer is yes. Sure. Do we have, the knowledge and the skills and the blueprints for people to build a business from startup or grow a business? The answer is yes. Do we have strategies and tactics and methods that we can use to have better relationships and better communication? The answer is yes. And the point that I'm wanting to make is that for just about anything that anybody who is listening right now wants to achieve, we already know how to.
Right. The how-to's there.
That's right. So the only thing that is standing in between actually achieving what you want and not achieving what you want is what's happening between your two ears. Yes. There's only going to be 4 things that are, maybe 5, that are going to get in your way. One is fears. So you may have a fear of failing. You may have a fear of trying your best and failing, or succeeding and then failing. Or you may have a fear of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged. Or you may have a fear of disappointing yourself or a loved one. And when these fear circuits activate in the brain, they actually deactivate the motivational center in the brain and deactivate the part of our brain that can actually help us achieve our goal. And so first and foremost, we know what the fear circuit is in the brain. We know what triggers it. We know how to calm it down. We know the motivational circuits in the brain and how to trigger it and how to activate them. And so if fear isn't what's holding you back, then maybe it's your self-image or self-esteem or self-worth. Maybe you feel like you're not good enough. You're not deserving enough. And if you have a self-esteem issue, we know how to fix that too. And if it's not fear or self-esteem, well, then what about your limiting beliefs?
Right.
I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too Asian. I'm too Caucasian. It's to this. It's to that. It's not enough this.
It's the 6 inches between the ears.
Right. So all of the stuff that I'm talking about right now are mental and emotional constructs. Well, guess what? We have all of the how-to give you more confidence, more certainty, more tenacity, more resolve, more willpower, more focus, more awareness, more motivation. We already know how to do that. Now, the problem is the average person has never learned about their brain and the power that already resides within them. And once they unlock what's already within them, then they start achieving unbelievable things. And this is why people can go into spontaneous remission. This is why people can double or triple their income. This is why people can lose weight and keep it off. This is why people can have great relationships where maybe it's been challenging in the past. And so all of it happens between our ears. And so when I wrote the book Inner Size, it was really to give people a user's manual to use what they already have a lot better.
Yeah, and that's the perfect segue to Inner Size. And if it is the 6 inches and it's our thought patterns or thinking habits, then Inner Size, and again, I love the title and the concept, is certainly the answer. So first of all, how did you come up with the name? Do you remember like when that happened or how that happened?
For about 30 years, I have been using mental and emotional techniques that I've been practicing from the time I was, a young basketball player, playing basketball, and we were taught to visualize,
right,
to when I learned how to use affirmations, to when I started to listen to subliminal recordings to reprogram my subconscious mind. I started to do this over 30 years ago. And what I didn't know then that I know now is that I was actually training my brain. And so I just coined the term, well, we exercise, to build our physical muscles and to make our organs work better. And I just called it, I inner size because it's the inner game. So I just came up with this Inner Size and I trademarked it. And then I've been teaching it and creating programs for tens of thousands of clients and businesses, individuals and businesses around the world. And then I decided I was just going to introduce Inner Size to the book. What I wanted to do was do for Inner Size what Jack LaLanne did in the 60s and
yep,
exercise. And believe it or not, the trademark was available. And so, I bought the trademark and then I wrote a book around it. And what I also did, which is interesting, is in the book, there are links to our website where I give people 8 brain training audios that would normally sell for $197. We're giving people 8 Inner Sizes to retrain their brain, to reduce stress, to get more focused, to have more emotional control. And so it's just a way to train your brain. And if you think about our physical muscles, well, think of neuromuscles. We have so much potential within us, but we really haven't learned how to strengthen key neuromuscles in our brain. And so this is what this book not only will teach you how to do, but will help you do it by helping you listen to these audios and watching the videos that come with the book.
Yeah, I recall, I think you used that Jack LaLanne analogy in the book, and I love the book, and I love the exercises, and you speak specifically, and we're not going to have time to go digging all the way through it, but there's a couple of key points I want to touch on, and then we'll just dig into some fairly common questions I have for guests. But you say goal achievement, setting goals is easy. Achieving goals is difficult, or can be. And you just went through a bunch of, it could be self-concept, it could be fear, self-image, this, that, and the other. But talk about, so those are some of the reasons it's difficult. The other one is this beautiful word and this beautiful idea you talk about a lot, and it's in the book. It's coherence. So explain that to people. All right, a very quick timeout. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're digging this interview. I wanted to share with you, you may have heard of it, the Get Unstuck course. The problem isn't, and hopefully this isn't you, the problem is not that you're stuck. Everybody gets stuck from time to time. The problem is, if this applies to you, you're not trying new things to get unstuck. In any event, we're heading quickly towards the new year, new habits, new goals. I'm very proud and pleased with the course we have unveiled. It's the Get Unstuck course. Nearly 100 people have already piled in. I'm going to have a coupon code, and I don't have that yet. So this just occurred to me. So all you have to do is email sales@equilibrium-ent.com. It's very simple. It sounds complicated. Sales@equilibrium, equilibrium-ent. Sales@equilibrium-ent.com, and just ask for the promo code. This is going to give you $25 off. So yeah, when we get stuck, not really the problem, not taking action, not moving confidently in a new direction, that is the problem. Exposing yourself to new ideas, people, environment, books, courses. Doesn't even have to be this one. I'm just throwing that out there since we have your ear and we are talking. It's a terrific course. And of course, there's a money-back guarantee. So check it out. If you just go to the Habit Factor site, you'll see a link over on the right, and it says Get Unstuck. So with that, let's get back to this great interview. And for the coupon code, just shoot an email to sales@equilibrium-ent.com. All right. Peace.
Great. So let me use an orchestra as an example for it. Imagine that you're, an orchestra leader. You're the conductor, and you have somebody who's playing the piano, somebody who's playing the saxophone, somebody who's playing, the strings or quartet, and you have different players playing different instruments.
Absolutely.
If the musicians are in harmony and in coherence, right?
Right.
Then it sounds freaking amazing. So your favorite orchestra or band sounds amazing because it's just working. All the notes and players are in synchronicity.
Beautiful.
So that should be a great visual for somebody. So now let's look at our brain and say, okay, there is a part of your brain that is responsible for setting goals. There's another part of your brain that's responsible for focus. There's another part of your brain that's responsible to take action. There's another part of your brain that's supposed to keep you safe. There's another part of your brain that regulates your energy flow. Now, the reason I want to use that analogy is there are different parts of the brain that if they don't work in coherence, together in harmony, then we lose motivation. We procrastinate. We don't take action. We come up with stories and excuses and reasons why we can't or why we won't. Now, when you understand what each little part of your brain is supposed to do, because I want you to understand, and this is for everybody,
right,
is you have a brain. You are not your brain. So you can direct your brain. You can activate circuits in your brain. You can deactivate other circuits in your brain. You can muster up motivation in less than 90 seconds and get rid of fear or self-doubt in less than 90 seconds. When you understand how to get I'm going to just use this term loosely, the players, the musicians in your brain to work together. So when you have these goals that you want to achieve and you're motivated and dopamine, for example, is released into the bloodstream and you feel good.
Right.
Well, if in your memory bank, for example, the last time you tried something like this, you failed and you lost money or you got emotionally hurt, your brakes are going to go on and you're going to lose motivation because the stress or fear center in the brain activated to protect you from pain like what you already experienced in the past may cause you to experience in the present. And so when you don't understand how this is working, then you're a victim.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful concept, and on a more basic level, just because this show is called Habits to Goals, and one of the things, John, and I know you know this, the Habit Factor promotes something called habit alignment.
Correct.
And it's this idea that exactly what you're talking about, getting in coherence and aligning the habits and even the thought patterns with your goals. So you just keyed on another key point that I wanted to bring up. And I've talked to a number of noted specialists, doctors, and I asked them this question, and it's not an easy question to answer, but because you are a great philosopher, you're a great thinker, and you're well-versed in the topic, I'm going to ask you this question. Help us understand the distinction, because I've thrown out my theories, and then there's almost a chapter devoted to it in the Habit Factor, the distinction between the brain and the mind.
Okay. According to some of the latest research, and by the way, some of the latest research is refutable.
Sure.
Mind is activity of the brain. A brain is a physical organ.
Bingo.
And so mind is all of the stuff that is a result of having a brain.
Beautiful.
And there are people that think that, mind is within your, skeletal structure or your skull.
Right.
And there's others that think that there's individual mind and collective mind.
Yep.
Right. And so I, for myself, believe that there is absolutely mind activity that's happening within my skull and brain. But since we are all energy, vibrating packets of quanta, then we are part of this field of collective energy and intelligence.
Yeah.
So we are not separate from anything or anyone, even though there's this appearance of, something that we call a body. When you think of, what is your body made up of? It's made up of, 9 systems. It's made up of hundreds of trillions of cells that have coalesced together to form this physical structure. And the best visual I've ever come up with to help people explain is if you think of ice, it is H2O vibrating at a certain frequency that is a solid. If you heat it up, it becomes water. It's still H2O in a liquid form. If you heat up the water, it becomes air, ether, steam, gas, etc. Still H2O in a different vibratory rate. And so when I think of mind and brain, my brain creates mind and mind creates brain.
Beautiful. Yeah, first of all, I love the answer. And when I think about
that was my other book.
No, I was going to say, how, and I'm sure you've heard of this. They found neural type activity and even neurons in heart cells. I don't know if you've heard that, and so you know, you hear about ancient wisdom and Indian, and then the advice, think from your heart, and all those kind of proverbs, if you will. I guess where I'm going is I think there's this, just like you said, it's this mixture. So it's this activity, but it's between the brain, the organ, the brain, and the organ, the heart.
And the gut as well. So there's an enormous amount of research, and hence the old saying, trust your gut.
Right.
They say that our gut is actually our second brain.
That's fantastic.
So,
like I said, I could keep you here all night, and we're gonna have to have you in the studio next time. All right. Well, we just geeked out on a lot of brain. We didn't even get into the subconscious and the conscious, which we just don't have time for. I would just say, listener, that's why, again, habits to goals exist. The habit factor exists. When you focus on habits, you're using, and we didn't talk about the two parts of the brain, the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system, but the idea is you use the conscious, slow part of the brain at first. You move those habits to the speedy part, and that's how the subconscious helps you achieve your goals. Now, before we get into these other questions, I do have one story, if you could share, please, sir. The vision board story. I was at your house. I've seen it. I know the truth behind it. You invited me to one of those brain fundraisers many years back. I think it was even maybe it was after the China trip. But share the house story, please.
The house story. Before I share the house story, do you mind if we give somebody a website to go to get the book?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. We're going to give all that, but please, let's do it now. Do it now.
There's a whole bunch of bonuses that come with the book, and you can get them at ignitemybrain.com. So you can go to Amazon and get the book Inner Size, but you can also go to ignitemybrain.com. And if you buy the book on Amazon, then come back to ignitemybrain.com. You can get some of the brain training audios that I'm giving away, plus some videos and some other amazing gifts worth several $100s. So pick up the book, pick up a couple of them, and pick up your bonuses as well. And now to the house story.
Yeah, sorry. Ignite My Brain. I love that URL even. Fantastic.
So many years ago when I started setting goals, I'm pretty visual, and writing goals or typing goals out is, pretty linear and pretty digital. So I wanted to create pictures of the things that I wanted to achieve. So I started cutting out pictures from magazines, whether it's Men's Fitness magazine, Renovation magazine, Home magazine, whatever it was. And so I started cutting out pictures. And in 1995, I had finished my vision board or dream board for health, wealth, relationships, career, business, finance. I had 6 different boards that were in my home office. And every day I would, sit and I'd read my goals and I'd look at the physical picture representations of those goals. And in 1997, I moved from Indiana, where I was living at the time. I put all of my furniture in storage, but I had these great vision boards and I wrapped them up, and they were held with United Van Lines. And so I moved from Indiana in 1997. I moved to British Columbia for a year. I then moved to Los Angeles for 2 years, and then I moved to San Diego after that. And so I had moved, several times. Stuff was in storage in Indiana. When I moved to San Diego, I bought a home, renovated it. And then after it was renovated, I had all my furniture and clothes and everything brought to the house so that I could unpack it and live in a new home. Well, one morning in May of 2000, my son, Keenan, woke up early, and he came into my home office. And there were some boxes that the movers had brought in the day before that I hadn't unpacked yet in my home office. And he sat on the boxes and he banged the boxes with the back of his legs and said, "Sweetheart, stop doing that. It's interrupting me, my work." And he says, "Daddy, what's in the boxes?" I said, "Well, sweetheart, they're my vision boards." And my son said, "Vision board?" He was 5.5 at the time. He goes, "Vision board? What's a vision board?" And I said to him, I said, when I have goals and dreams, I put them on a vision board. And he didn't understand because he didn't know goals and dreams. He didn't know what those were as it relates to what's in the box.
Right.
I said, sweetheart, let me show you. And so I opened up, one box, and there was a watch that I wanted that I hadn't bought. There was a car that I wanted that I hadn't bought. There was some materialistic stuff that, I didn't achieve, didn't have them. And now remember, these pictures have been in this box sealed for 3 years. And I pulled out the second vision board, and right smack in the middle of the vision board was a picture of a home that I cut out of Dream Homes magazine in 1995.
Wow.
And I had said to myself, one day when I can afford to buy any home I want, it will look like this home. And this home is like a Miami Vice White House with 180 windows on a mountaintop, spectacular vistas. And what made this, pretty spectacular was that I was standing in the home that was on the picture on the vision board, in the vision board. I cut out a picture of the house that I actually bought and lived in 5 years later. And I never even knew that I had moved into the house because the pictures were from the back of the house and they were aerial pictures.
Yeah, that's stunning and at the same time quite magical.
Yeah. So I had primed my brain and obviously activated mind, and somehow, and this is still a mystery to me, I ended up living in my dream home for I lived in it for 15 years before we sold it and moved down to the beach. But that's just the power of having a vision and having your goals, but also learning some techniques that I teach in the book Inner Size of getting this coherence and alignment between your vision and your goals and your ability to achieve them and manifest them.
Wow. Certainly speaks to the power of all the above, coherence and vision. All right. Well, we are approaching third base. I want to go through a few questions, if you don't mind, sir. These may or may not be softballs, but I think philosophically they're fun discussions. How would you, or how do you define success?
When I was younger, it was all financially based.
Right.
Today being, a husband, married for the last 19 years. It was my third marriage. Happily with an amazing life partner, having two amazing sons. My mother.
Your sons are amazing, sorry. And so is your wife, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Incredible people.
So having, health and energy and vitality, and to feel like my life has purpose and meaning, where I could make a difference in the world and the people that I love and the people that I don't even know, being given a chance to be challenged and to figure things out and to fail and get back up, and to enjoy the fruits of my labor and to just be passionate about what I do and about life. That to me is success. To feel like somehow this very quick bleep on the screen that somehow I can make another human being's life a little bit better to live, while I enjoy the world and all its beauty and glory. I am grateful and appreciative every single day, even through the challenging times.
Well, that's beautiful and a perfect segue, John. The next question, I think you're reading off my sheet, is as this, truly incredible, I think, thought leader, and as I said, you're right up there in my mind, anyways, legendary status in the
thank you, very kind.
But that doesn't preclude you, I'm sure, from tough, rough days. And so the question is simply what are the tools, the mindset? How do you battle if you just had I'm trying not to use a bad word, your shittiest day? How are you picking yourself up? How are you getting through?
I think learning how to frame things in a way that empower me versus disempower me has been a really amazing mental skill that I learned. And I also know that bad days or weeks and sometimes even months are temporary. And the only thing I can control is the way I see it, because the meaning that I give anything determines how I feel about it. So the meaning I give anything, my brain, me, I am a meaning-making machine. And so I've taught myself through many years of practice and discipline to look for the positive, empowering, constructive meanings.
Beautiful.
Even when there's, a shitstorm happening.
Beautiful. Well,
and when there's a shitstorm happening, you have to remember there's a pony somewhere.
Yeah, that was in the book too, I think. The term, and I just blogged about this idea that it's practice. We confuse many of us. Yeah, I know certainly in the old days, it used to be this idea, you do something once and that should be enough. No, it's over and over and over and over. And practice breeds the discipline, and discipline breeds the habits. And so just the practice of reframing and using your mind to not only reframe, but give meaning to the event is incredibly powerful. So thank you for sharing that.
And I'm going to share a pearl with you right now.
Please do.
I need everybody pay close attention.
I got my pen out.
Amateurs practice until they get it right. Pros practice until they can't get it wrong.
Wow. I love that. I think I just said it, but honestly, yesterday's blog post was all about practice, and it was only part one. So I'll find a way to work that one in.
Love it. So and on the topic of practice, you want to make sure that you're practicing the right things.
Sure.
If you practice the wrong things, you get really good at the wrong things.
Absolutely. And I think that the key from my perspective about practice is this idea of intention plus effort. And effort means repeated. It used to be intention plus action. The problem with that is when it comes to thinking, action doesn't work. So intention plus effort, and effort is the repetitive practice. So thank you very much. Here's another question. So somebody's sitting here listening to this, they're 55 and they feel like they're stuck. And as I say this, I'm thinking they're probably focused on the wrong thing, but they're thinking, my life sucks. This isn't going right. This happened. What words of encouragement can you share, if any, to help them get unstuck?
Well, first and foremost, I read one of my quotes on Instagram earlier today that my team posted, and it says, most people are focusing on what they don't want, and they keep wondering why it keeps showing up.
Right.
And so first and foremost, let's say your life sucks right now. Let's say you're not happy with health, wealth, relationships, career, but let's say all of it sucks right now.
Right.
And let's say you keep dwelling on that. What you may not be aware of is whatever it is that you focus on and repeat gets reinforced. Whatever you focus on and repeat gets reinforced. So if you're focusing and repeating disempowering thoughts or emotions, and this circulation that happens between thoughts and emotions that are disempowering or negative, you are in essence creating a self-fulfilling doom loop that becomes part of your default mode network. So that's your awareness piece of, holy shit, I better stop this. Now, the easier part, well, maybe not the easier part, but the part that you have the total capability of doing is saying, okay, this is my reality. Great. I accept it, but I don't like it. And then you ask yourself this simple question: what is one little thing, not 10, not 20, one little thing that I could do to move in the other direction.
Great.
One little thing. And so what we've just done is we've just flipped the switch from negative or disempowering, destructive to one constructive thing. Well, guess what? You've just activated a whole new neural circuitry in your brain. And if you do that, let's say just do it once an hour, and just write down what's the one thing you're going to do and do it, you actually change the brain patterns around all of this life that sucks mindset. And if you start off with small little behaviors repeated over time, you build stronger, newer patterns that become the patterns that your brain chooses to follow.
Beautiful. All right. Well, that's fantastic. And that's a perfect segue to this. Give us 2 or 3 of your, the habits that, and I think I could guess the answer, but the habits that you would attribute to your quote unquote success.
Okay. Habit number 1 is meditation every day.
Awesome.
So 20 minutes a day on average. Sometimes less, sometimes more, but average 20. 2, I am a voracious goal setter, but also a goal achiever. And the distinction is goal setting is an exercise of hopes, wishes, desires, imagination, and choice. And goal achieving happens because of subconscious conditioning. And so I focus every day on developing the powerful beliefs and perspectives and habits that I need to achieve the goals. I invest an inordinate amount of time thinking about, writing, and then implementing my strategies of how I'm going to actually achieve it. I do something called the 1 hour a day rule. And that is I upgrade my knowledge and skills for at least 1 hour a day.
Wow.
And I learned that 1 hour a day is 9 40-hour weeks in a year. If we started knitting today and we didn't even know how to knit, how good would we be, 9 40-hour weeks from now? We would have some abilities to knit. And so if you upgrade your knowledge and skills, your awareness, your perspectives, your beliefs about what's possible for you for an hour a day, you will be in a totally different place in your life a year from now. Imagine 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And so this is the equivalent of compound interest, right? If you do something for a year, then you do it for 2 years and 3 years and 5 years, you get this compounding effect. And so, earlier I shared, I went to grade 11 high school. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I sharpen the saw every day.
That's fantastic. And once again, I feel like you read off my my list here. So when it comes to sharpening the saw, renewal, refreshment, educating ourselves, that leads us to, I'm just curious, your favorite, like most transformative 2 or 3 books, John, that maybe you gift or you just find yourself talking about that really changed your life. Maybe something you gave to Keenan or Noah as a must read.
There's a tiny little book. It's about $6-7 by a friend of mine, Price Pritchett. It's called U Squared. YOU with the 2 above the U Squared. Price is a phenomenal individual, wrote this amazing book on potential that's already within you. That is, I've read it over 100 times. I've given away probably 10,000 of his books over the last 15 years.
Wow.
And it's one of the best little books that every time I've read it, it's like, oh, I didn't see that last time. It's that profound and powerful. So U Squared has got to be, one of them. And I can't remember, is it Persuasion by Robert Cialdini? Robert Cialdini is just a wonderful individual also that wrote phenomenal book on the art of persuasion. And it's so good. And I'm trying to look it up on Amazon while I'm chatting with you.
Well, we'll link to it, and that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm gonna go out and buy these books.
Yeah, I'm typing it up as I'm speaking. I'm using.
That's fine.
Yeah, so let me. It's not the exact title. It's called Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion.
Got it.
Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion. Just a classic, outstanding book.
And the author?
Robert Cialdini, Cialdini, Dr. Robert.
Brilliant.
Really good. So those two books are pretty outstanding to start with.
That is fantastic. All right. Well, we're almost done here, sir. A favorite tech tool, gadget, website, app, something you might not be able to do without on a day-to-day basis?
On the snow report, especially ski season. I love to ski. And so I have an on the snow report that I love. I use that every single day in the winter time. I like to ski about 5 months a year if I can.
Yeah,
I'm not really a tech, gadget type of guy. So maybe it's because I'm 57. But I don't really use. I use my phone to read the news. I don't play games on my computer. I'm on social media quite a bit, either on my LinkedIn page or my Instagram page. I have apps for all those things, but I'm not a gadget guy.
well, I like to snow.
I hardly can. I use my big, $3,500 Macintosh for emails.
That's awesome. All right. Well, John, unfortunately, we have come to an end here. We've run out of time. You've been educational, entertaining, and informative. We have all thoroughly enjoyed this. So thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you, my friend.
Share with me, again, I'll link to the book, and give us any other URLs and websites. Mention that one again.
Sure. So the book is called Inner Size,
Yeah.
like exercise, but inner for your brain, inner. The new science to unlock your brain's hidden power. And the website to be able to claim all of your bonuses when you buy a copy of the book. I think Amazon's got the book for like $10 or $11 right now, so it's a steal. And you go to ignitemybrain.com, ignitemybrain.com, and you'll see all the different gifts that you can get for buying one book or 5 books or 20 books if you want to give some away. Giving away lots of awesome stuff while we have just launched the book.
Yeah, and look, I mean, not only did you just launch the book, but we're heading into tragically things like Black Friday and the holiday season and gifts. I mean, the gift of new ideas to share with loved ones is a brilliant gift, and I'm almost certain this is going to air before we get into the holidays. So certainly I'll reach out to you privately and make sure you know when that happens. But thanks again, John. That was terrific. If you have any,
awesome, my friend.
If you
Thank you. That was great fun.
Parting words with the audience, take it away.
Listen, you're capable of so much, and you feel it. There's something within you that knows you should be able to achieve more, and that's because you can. And my hopes for you is that you take some of what we discussed today, pick up the book Inner Size, so you can remove the roadblocks to your fullest potential.
Well said, sir. Thank you again, John, and have a terrific evening.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye. Today's episode is brought to you by Audible.com. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from. If there's one thing I know, and I think Jim Rohn was the one who said this originally, in 5 years, the difference in your life will be largely based upon 2 things: the books you've read and the relationships you have fostered. Doesn't it make sense to take advantage of the downtime, whether you're on the road, on a run, in the gym, kill a couple birds with one stone, get a book going? It's phenomenal. The more people I turn on to it, the more compliments I get. Not that I've actually done anything. 180,000 titles to choose from. You get one free book a month, 30% off any other book. Again, check it out. audibletrial.com/habits to goals. I'm going to say that again real quick. audibletrial.com/habits to goals. And that is the number 2. And of course, when you support our sponsors, you are supporting the show. So thank you again. I am extremely grateful. We'll see you at the next episode.